everyone, and welcome to What's with Health and Care. This is episode 18, can you believe it? And what we, Celeste and I are here today to talk about is this idea of, why do we get angry and how can we manage that? So we're here to, and we're not saying we're experts, but we're saying, in our coaching world as coaches and, and in our healthcare world when we were nurses, we really did see people with emotions that were strong and sometimes they were angry. And so why does that happen for us? And why does it happen for everybody? Because we've all been angry at some point. So why do we get angry? And we're going to talk about how does that affect us? How does that make us feel? And how can we, acknowledge it, get on top of it, I think is really where we're going with it today. So I'm going to introduce to you to the fabulous Celeste Cleary as always. And hello, Celeste.
Hi, Sue.
And, Celeste has done the lion's share of the work for this episode because I'm going to do my usual fly by the seat of my pants behaviour.
All good. Adds to the flavour.
So tell us more, Celeste.
Okay, so just to give a quick outline, we're going to talk about why we feel anger, and how does that affect us? How does that look? And what happens when anger becomes a problem? How do we recognise that? And what are the implications of that? And then some strategies to help us manage anger better. And that's in ourselves, but also how can we help others who are angry?
And I like to think, also, Celeste, how can we understand other people who are angry? So when we see someone fire off and, and roar, how can we not judge that? How can we just understand where that person is at and think, wow, how has that person got to that place today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my second slide was, I couldn't resist that one. It came up when I was looking for profiles or templates, and it's of a tornado.
Exactly.
And I think that encapsulates what comes up for a lot of us when we think about managing anger. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit out of control, and or can be, and it's intimidating. It makes us uncomfortable, and clearly 100%. The person that's experiencing it feels uncomfortable, and that can sometimes, we get caught up in our own response, and then it's hard to actually think and to be present with the person that's experiencing the anger or ourselves. It can kind of hijack our thoughts and our emotions and our behaviour. So, but fear not, because it is a normal emotion. So I'm just going to press on. According to the American Psychological Association, anger is an emotion characterised by antagonism towards someone or something who you feel has deliberately done you wrong. And that's the perception of the person at the time. Brene Brown adds to this another layer and you believe that something can be done about it, as opposed to you haven't given up.
Yeah, but I think there's that other layer then too of, who are you and how does that, because I just, my head's always in that compassion fatigue space at the moment because I'm working so much in it, and just seeing people who are so tired. Yeah. So their threshold of reacting to anger quickly.
Yes.
Because, they are stressed and tired. And so their trigger for getting angry is a lot quicker. So, that's where I think it's really, if you work with someone who is really quick trigger angry, to me, I ask that question of what else is going on in their life.
Yes.
What's going on that I can't see and understand about that other human that I'm connected to?
Yes, that's
that I
right,
need to.
Sue.
So that's where my brain goes to of, oh my God, what's going on for that person?
Yes. Yeah, and so it's good if we can move past that discomfort, my next point, in witnessing it, depending on how it's displayed. And it impacts everyone around the person who's feeling angry.
Correct.
So it's, how do we manage our response to it?
Yeah. Oh, because, you've got what are your sections of personality out of there? You've got your conflict avoiders. They'll just go, oh no, angry person.
Yeah, run.
you know, and then you've got your other people who get angry when other people get angry.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it triggers them to be angry because someone else is angry. And so that's where you get that associated rage,
Yes.
you know, and if we've got too many in the group, then we've got, you know, that group rage and, you know, and then we get riots.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Oh,
And then
and the ones who just want to shut it down, like stop it now. And
yes.
there's nothing more like putting fuel on the flame than telling someone to not be angry. Like, yeah, it's how you feel, and to shut down any of our emotions is not helpful.
You know how you get that you need to calm down.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
You need to
not
relax.
helpful.
I'm not going to continue talking to you anymore until you calm down. Yeah, don't. That's actually not a good set of sentences.
No, they're not. We all learn these things in time if we're fortunate. We would pay attention. So, why do we feel angry?
I don't know, Celeste, tell me.
Okay, so anger, like all of our emotions, and I think there's like up to about 87 have been identified, is a messenger. It's telling us something. And so we need to tune in and find out what the message is. So it could be an indication that, you know, something's not right, like a warning light in the car, that there's something we need that we're not paying attention to and we're not fulfilling. And anger can also have other emotions beneath it, which I'm going to get to shortly. But there can be other things going on in the background, and sometimes anger is the most identifiable or valid emotion that we can lay hands on, and that's what we go with. It activates our fight and flight response. So, you know, we have that saying, having your blood up, and that's all about getting our sympathetic nervous system going, the heart rate up, the narrow focus, the can't hear anything, you know, because we're tuned in, we're getting ready to have a go. It's an active emotion. It's telling us to take action. We need to do something here. And just being able to tune in and not be like the scattergun that just goes off, to actually target what it is that we need, the action that we need to take. And
how much discipline? I mean, you know, I know you're going to get to it, but to be angry, but then to have the discipline to go, oh, I'm really angry right now. How am I going to manage that?
Yeah, because it just lights us right up.
Yeah, because, you know, our hormones go wild.
Yes.
Let's be honest, you know, like our adrenaline's gone bang. And, you know, our whole vascular system is enlightened and our whole brain is wired. And so we want to run, we want to roar, and we want to fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's where it can help for us to understand that it is a normal emotion. We are allowed to feel angry, but we can't stay in the anger because that's detrimental. And I'll get to that shortly. But not to feel shut down. Sometimes we can pick up it through childhood and in our experience of life that it's not acceptable to be angry, or we don't get the words, or we don't get that methods of handling our anger in a constructive way. And it's a learned art. So ease up. And we can't expect ourselves to go from just going off to being very intuitive and responding appropriately, just like from 0 to 100. We can't do it straight away. It's going to take practice, but we can change.
Yep. And, you know, and to have that ability to go, I'm in control of this. The rage monster doesn't control me. Yes.
And the behaviour is a choice. So we can feel angry, and you feel angry, and there's no, that just comes up. It's a reaction to the situation, but the decision to behave and act out a certain way, that is a decision and a choice that we can get control over. And sometimes it takes more practice than others.
Oh, it's like it is often like the habits we do have to get used to changing. Yeah. You know, I do understand there are some chemical sort of, you know, disorders that people have because of, you know, like, you know, if you've been born with certain sort of fetal alcohol spectrum
Yeah.
disorders
Yeah.
and those sorts of things,
Yes.
then yes, your pathways fire differently. So yes, you will need to have more support to learn your pathways differently. But there are great people out there who can help you with those support pathways as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing that comes to mind for me, Sue, is, you know, what we witness in the hospital environment, and particularly in emergency, some of the people who've have those backgrounds where they may be something like fetal alcohol syndrome, or it may simply be that they are individuals who just never got the tools to identify emotions and to know how to respond appropriately. The tools were never given to them because of the way and the environment that they grew up in. And so they're really behind the eight ball, and you can see it so clearly when you can step back and not be reacting yourself. You can see this poor pained person who just, all they've got is anger. They don't have any other emotions they can identify, like grief or loss or disappointment or injustice. They're just angry.
Yeah, and you know, they've come from trauma backgrounds where, you know, I you know, and I'll use my examples, my experience of working in youth detention. You know, those kids in youth detention, I just, you know, I had so much empathy. They have been so ripped off by, you know, not getting the support to learn themselves from a young age, you know, so they didn't know how they operated, and they just felt anger.
Yeah.
You know, and so how can you react? They were just reacting to, you know, they were either angry or they were happy. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, and you were just like, no, there's this whole broad spectrum in the middle.
Yes.
You know, and working with them to understand that was so important.
Yeah, definitely. If we don't have the words, and then how can we identify how we're feeling? It's interesting when I
And
was
being
doing a bit of
allowed to experience those emotions in a safe space where you can go, I'm feeling something right now and I don't know what it is, but you know, and having safe spaces to feel, like, you know, that's just what people miss out on. And it's just, you know, that's why I kind of feel lucky that I get to help people with that, you know, now. So good.
Awesome.
Thanks, Celeste.
So, that's okay. It's interesting, just on that note, when I was doing a bit of background reading for this podcast, Brene Brown has done a lot of research in, like, emotions, full stop, but particularly some of those more challenging and difficult to deal with emotions. And she did a survey of about 7,500 people, asking them to identify their emotions as they experience them and to write them down. And the average that people came up with was 3. So if there's a total of like 87 identifiable emotions from the research, and most people can only identify 3, and they were happy, sad, and angry, or more specifically, pissed off. And so when she then interviewed people continually, what came up behind anger was so much more. There was so much other difficult emotions: frustration, pain, fear, grief, injustice, so many other emotions that she could recognize in the interviews, but they couldn't identify them. So so I thought that was interesting too. That really helped my understanding and compassion for people who are feeling angry, you know, to help them through. Now, next point, anger can be a symptom of some mental health conditions like depression. So if you notice that one of your colleagues at work is really irritable, and they're not normally like that, and they've been really irritable for a few weeks, like, maybe check in and just say, hey, you know, what's up? You're not normally like this. Let's, you know, have one of those "are you okay" conversations, or just check in, because you know, if 1 in 5 of us experiences depression, anxiety, or substance abuse disorder in the Australian population of adults, then, you know, that's pretty significant. That's 2 in 10. So, like, it's a high probability that someone could be experiencing mental illness. So good to check in on that as well.
Yeah, and I think with withhold judgment, like
Mm-hmm.
just because the angry person might not have the best clothes on, it doesn't matter.
Mm.
Like there isn't a certain way. My anger doesn't get valued on how I appear,
Mm.
and the car I drive and all those sorts of things. I don't know, just less judgment would be nicer.
So, how do we read signs that anger might be a problem? So, I've got quite a list here,
Ah,
but this is from the Headspace
okay,
website.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of resources, places like Headspace, to help people manage those emotions, to understand them better, which is really good to see, particularly for youth.
Oh,
So So some of them are feeling angry a lot of the time at an intense and overwhelming level. Like, what must that be? That must be exhausting to be feeling like that.
exactly. And they've got your brain, the young brain is learning so much so quickly. There's so much stimulus. It's
Mm,
fatiguing. And I think we
mm,
forget that how tiring it is being young.
mm.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I guess the common thread with all of these that I'll read out is that anger's beginning to impact our daily life. And
100%.
yeah, we're reacting in ways that either hurt ourselves or hurt others. So, anger is like it's an indicator, it's a catalyst to take action, but it's not something we can hang on to, or it really, we turn it inwards, it really will hurt us. So it's so important that we find ways to manage it. So if we're behaving aggressively, verbally, physically, or passive aggression, that's often one we'll see acted out because it's easier somehow to, it's like the anger still finds its way out in snide, underhand ways, but we think we're managing it, but actually it's coming through loud and clear to everyone around us when we behave like that. But it's just another sign that we're struggling to manage this uncomfortable emotion.
Yeah.
So having trouble expressing anger, just repeating that,
Yeah.
feeling sad and distressed as a result of getting angry. So sometimes, we have an outburst and it just comes out, and then we beat ourselves up thinking, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. I've hurt this person. I'm a
We
bad
ruminate.
person.
We
Yes.
ruminate and we negative self-talk and we
Mm,
destroy our own spirit. And nobody else
yeah.
needs to do it. We're doing it ourselves. Good job.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're using alcohol and other drugs to manage our anger. That's common.
Self-soothing behavior is
Mm,
what we call that, isn't it,
mm-hmm.
Celeste? The
Yes.
self-soothing. How much are you self-soothing?
That's it. And
Because that
that's,
actually adds to your distress as well, because,
yeah,
that really affects our chemical being. And
yeah,
so when we drink, we
it
actually make the next
magnifies.
day worse,
Mm.
not better.
And again, like not to beat ourselves up if we're doing that, because every habit serves us at the time that we're engaging in it. So we're having that drink, it is soothing us at the time, but it's like either getting help or finding ways that we can substitute that for a more healthy way of, so that we can manage that emotion and we can soothe ourselves.
Yep, correct.
Mm. So feeling the need to use aggression to get people to do something. So that's an
Threatening
interesting
behavior.
one. Yeah, yeah,
Threatening
yeah.
behavior. Yeah.
Maybe you feel that's the only way you're going to get action from people. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I do remember that as a child sometimes when your parents would do that. They would threaten you to get you to do
Mm-hmm.
things. Yeah.
We got threatened with a wooden spoon, but I never remember Mum actually getting it. Oh, she might have got it out of the drawer once, but I can still hear the sound of the box coming out when she went to get the wooden spoon, but we never got it.
That, and then the withholding and you won't get this and you can't do
Yeah,
this and
yeah,
now you must, it's that's a way to control people.
yeah,
Yeah.
true. The next is withdrawing from people or
Yes.
situations. Now, this is one that, perhaps initially we do it as a coping mechanism because we know we don't want to hurt people and we pull ourselves away so that we don't let the scattergun go. but if we continue to do that without processing that emotion and look to see what it's telling us and act on that, then we can just continue to withdraw, and then we lose connection with people around us. It affects our relationships. It's really not helpful. Bottling things up rather than processing them. Regretting the things you did or said when you were angry. That can be another ruminating.
That can take you down a bad path.
And expressing anger by saying or doing something aggressive or violent.
And
really
expressing is that, and typically expressing is where the people with poor impulse control issues, who we do see a lot of in our prison systems and our youth detention systems and stuff like that. They're the ones who unfortunately, end up in the system because you're not allowed to swear, spit, throw, hit, that sort of thing, and offend against other people. So that's where we do see a lot of people in our sort of systems, which then creates its own cycle of deterioration and negativity and anger as well. So you can see where that can go wrong, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. So how does unresolved anger affect us? Holding back anger creates tension and stress in our bodies, which can lead to psychosomatic symptoms. So, this can be anything from high blood pressure, because, it's activating our sympathetic nervous system, which is constricting our blood vessels, putting our heart rate up. It's gearing us up to take action. So that's going to, of course, put our blood pressure up. And if we have chronic anger, then we're going to have that chronic feeling of tenseness and that pressure in our cardiovascular system, which can lead to cardiovascular disease later on. And we can have headaches and even cancer. There's some studies that have associated cancer and people's response to treatment for cancer with anger, with chronic anger.
Well, because chronic anger is stress. So, and stress impacts every aspect of our being, from head to toe, so, and the how it sort of raises our chemical mediators and it impacts upon our hormones, raises our cortisol levels to the point where we can't actively get rid of the cortisol through our systems anymore. So that cortisol gets caught up in our system. Our renal system works double time to try and get rid of the cortisol, but can't get rid of it. So which then, suppresses any of our happy hormones. The big four, dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, and oxytocin, well, stuff them, they can't get out. So can you see how anger if we don't break it down, we don't do anything, and we don't sort of address it. Can you see how it just builds and builds and builds and builds? And then how can we ever be happy again if we've got this stuff that's just suppressing happiness?
Face up to that discomfort in whatever way we can and get help so that we don't end up on this path, because people end up with suffering from self-hatred and self-criticism, and that can lead to feeling worthless and depressed. And that feeling of worthlessness or hopelessness is a big correlator for doing bad things to ourselves, hurting ourselves, or suicidality.
Well, it is self-harm. At the end of the day, if you can't clear your anger and all of these chemical mediators in your body, they actually biologically age you dramatically if you never shift them. So you're actually destroying yourself by not doing anything. And so you can see why cancer comes in, because cancer thrives on chaos. So, so if my body's an internal chaos system of, negative hormone, well, come on,
chaos
cancer.
On chaos.
Chaos. Cancer chaos. You come in, you join in the show. Let's do it. It's terrible.
It's a potent mix.
It is.
And then, of course, we drive others away from us because we're not open to, we can't be vulnerable. So we lose that connection with people around us, whether that's our personal relationships or our work relationships. and they can ultimately break down.
Because to have that much anger, unfortunately, closes your mind, the possibilities. And so you can't
narrows
see.
the focus.
Yeah, you can't. You get your blinkers on, so you can't see the forest for the trees. And so, you know, it's that's why some people around you will detach and give up because they can't connect with you anymore. Because people have to, you know, like you don't want to be around the toxic person all the time.
No. Well, it's pervasive. You start to soak it up yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's a lonely life if you don't shift it.
So, speaking of shifting it, how about some strategies so that we can take action to either help
I don't
ourselves
want this in my life.
help
Let's
others.
change it.
That's it. And with the caveat that you can't just push a button and make any one of these things happen the first time. But if the second or third time you think of it, you know, you might think of it afterwards and you think, oh, well, at least I've thought of it now. And maybe next time I'll think of it in the moment, you know, but keep at it because you'll get there. But you have to keep maintaining the intention. So step number one is, noticing it. If we can't notice and be aware that we're angry, then we can't change anything. So that's the first win to celebrate, is when you start to notice it.
Yeah.
And
I think it is, I don't know, I enjoy it sort of sometimes now where I can say, I'm really angry about that. You know, but I'm actually saying it like that. I'm really angry about that now. You know, because...
And now what?
Yeah, I'm processing it. I'm really angry about that. So what am I going to do about that? You know, like that's where my brain...
empowering.
Yeah, because... Yeah, I know. I don't know. I've still got the churning gut and I've still got adrenaline flowing because I can feel that, and I can feel that my gut's a bit agitated and I'm a bit nervous and I can feel jumpy, but I'm not reacting to that. I'm sitting with it and going, I'm really angry right now with that. What will I do?
The first thing is to stop talking because first thing we're going to do if we react is start talking. And often particularly if there's hurt feelings behind or fear behind that anger, then hurt people. And the first thing that's going to come out is abuse at someone or something nasty that stings the other person that's around us. So, yeah, that's the first thing. While you get
and that's a
control
fabulous point because that's happened so much. Yeah.
And it's just something you're going to regret later on and beat yourself up about. So don't do it.
or potentially someone's going to hold it against you as well forever as well, you know.
Because you can't take them back.
No, once the is it the rabbit's out of the hatch or whatever they say, once the horse is bolted, etc., it's done. And some people won't forgive.
No, that's it. You might destroy a relationship.
Exactly. Some audiences are just going to go, nah, you said that and I'm never going to forgive you for it. So,
So that's the first one. The next one you could try is take a breather. So actually try and slow your breathing down because it is that sympathetic nervous system that's going off. And so the first thing that can counteract that is actually to pay attention to your breathing and slow it down because that will mitigate that response. And some people will count down. So if you're only feeling mildly irritated, count down from 10. If you feel like you're going to explode, you better make it 100.
Or go for a walk.
Go for a walk. So that's next. So that's that actually moving because moving will help to dissipate that feeling as well and get it down to because it is an action emotion. So taking action, whether it be going for a walk, which actually will get you away from other people that you might be inclined to mouth off at, you can stretch or you can just do like tensing and relaxing muscles. All those kind of things can help. Another one that's removing yourself from the situation is just take a time out. If you need to go outside, go to another room where there's no stimulation, that you can just tune into yourself and just take time out from everything. It removes you from the situation or anyone that might react to you or that you might react to, but it also gives you time to tune in and settle down.
Good, yeah.
I like that one. I think that's the most sort of doable, because it's actually taking action, which the anger is stimulating you to do, but actually removing you from a potential situation that you'll regret.
Exactly.
Another one is actually using your senses, and I think this takes more presence of mind. So this isn't one to try first, but using your senses to process. So whether it's listening to music that can be distracting, and journaling, writing your thoughts down, that can be really effective, because, you know, you can screw it up, burn it, whatever, get rid of it. No one else has to see it, but you're getting those feelings out of your system, and you can actually step back from it and look at it and think, oh, wow, I was really angry. And now what's underneath that?
Exactly.
Which is really helpful.
Yeah, that's where reflection is such a strong, it's a strong, powerful antidote, because you pull it apart and go, geez, you know, on any other given day, this would have made me angry, but today that's made me angry.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
and I think it's one that we can pull out of our toolkit even after the fact. So even if, you know, you went off, you went, you know, abused someone, you behaved badly, later on, when you're thinking about it and looking back on it, that's not too late to just write things down, process it, because it really, some things will come up that you think, oh, wow, I didn't even know that was in my head. I didn't even know that was there. I just thought I was angry.
Yeah.
So that can be very empowering.
Yeah. And I know in the space I'm working in, I actually encounter people who say, oh, I didn't realize I was feeling that way because I was so exhausted. And you're like, yeah, your ability to tolerate emotion, a strong emotion such as anger when you're exhausted, it's just not there. You don't have the resilience to, you know, perform against anger in a sane way when you're exhausted.
Yeah. That's interesting, Sue. That makes complete sense.
Yeah, you know, and that's why new parents, you know, when they're sleep deprived because they've got a new baby and they can't sleep anymore because they're trying to get a cycle of sleep for this new bubba. Their ability to tolerate extraneous things, you know, that are happening normally, they can't, because they're sleep deprived. So these are all factors.
Yes, and that's another situation I can relate to, where you then sort of feel bad because, you know, you're angry and, you know, you're not managing the emotions so well, but you're absolutely buggered, and there's this intent to want to do the very best with this brand new little soul who is completely reliant on you, and we can sort of suffer a lot of guilt and self-flagellation with situations like that, can't we?
So that's where it's just, you know, when you've got that kind relative who goes, it's okay, you're just tired. You know, and you're like, oh, that's right, I am. Okay,
that's very releasing.
Yeah. Be kind, people. Anyway.
You won't go wrong with that. So just a few other ideas, and these are ones that I think take a bit more practice. And it's a good idea to practice them when you're not angry, so that if you have these as a foundation, you might even notice that you don't tend to get as angry, that your anger doesn't go to the same levels that it did before. So first one's, I think we've covered before, but it's getting curious. Curiosity is a great tool because there's no judgment with curiosity. It's just like, wonder what that's about. You're not judging yourself. There's no pass or fail. It's just interest to see what's going on, what's behind that, and what do I need right now? Like, what am I needing? Do I need? Is it about recognition? You know, if we are externally motivated, then we rely on that pat on the back from others or recognition from others that we're doing a good job, or for effort that we've put into something. And we might get a bit, you know, mungery, or a bit of that passive aggressive kind of behaviour can come through when we put our heart and soul into, say, a project or a task that was not recognised. It's just gone completely past the boss, completely past the team. And you can be a bit resentful. So there's anger, but there's resentment and behind it as well. And deeper down is this like, well, actually, I really needed a pat on the back. I needed someone to say, gee, you put a lot of effort into that. Thank you.
Yes.
And so how can we manage that in a more constructive way? But if we know it, at least we can acknowledge it to ourselves and give ourselves a pat on the back. And that might alleviate that feeling. Another one's talking to a trusted friend, and you might even be able to practice expressing your anger constructively because they won't be affected by it. Or if you set up the guardrails at the start of the conversation, like, I'm really pissed off about X, Y, Z, and I need to talk it through, then, you know, you've got the inverted commas are up and they know what the context is, and you can practice talking it through.
Yeah.
Finding a creative outlet that you can turn to when you're upset, like poetry or art. So, you know, we talk about anger sparking us to take action, and it's not always bad things. Like, we tend to see more of the inappropriate direction of anger, but it can be to create some masterpiece. I mean, some people really turn their creativity on with their emotions. So it could be a piece of music, a lot of poetry, a poem, and others will relate to those feelings as well when they read it. Another one is like, maybe it's signing a petition or starting a petition. Maybe you're angry because of an injustice. And you just think, I can't abide this. I've got to go talk to the boss about so-and-so being passed over for this promotion, or whatever the situation is, because that's what anger is telling us to do. Like, take action. Don't just let it go by.
Definitely. And having that insight into your personality, like, I'm very justice driven. Like, so if I see an injustice or feel an injustice, that's where I know that I will get a flag.
Come out of the box.
I will go, not okay. And I'll try to bring people to task over it.
Yeah. So self-awareness.
Yeah, but it's something that, that's my job these days, to be very aware of myself for others. It's something that you can grow in yourself and really understand what your triggers are.
Yes. Yeah. And we can change. You just got to,
100%.
It just takes time and easing up on ourselves to create the change. Don't expect that you're going to get there straight away, or that you're never going to get there because you can't do it within the first few goes.
And understanding with how we were brought up and, the journey that we grew into this world in does not have to be the journey we finish this world in.
Yes.
So if I grew up in trauma and, really difficult times, I can change how I respond to that. It doesn't have to be my story,
forever.
with how I finish. So I think that's really important as well.
So another thing is visualizing forgiving whoever you feel has wronged you. And they've actually found, and I can't remember where I read this, but in studies that that the visualization, if you're not able to bring yourself to forgive them, that just visualizing it is helpful to our body and to our brain to be going through that motion. And I think when you visualize things often enough and with enough clarity, that you do move towards the actually making it happen. The next one's practicing gratitude or empathy or both. So 3 good things and why around the dinner table at night. What's 3 good things for the day is a really great tool for changing our perspective.
Definitely gratitude every day.
Because there's always silver linings. And even when things look awful, on Headspace, they talk about, and it's part of meditation, that the blue sky's always there. There might be clouds, there might be thunder and lightning, and it might be really bleak weather, but the blue sky's there. It's just behind it. So this will pass, and there'll be the good things there again. So it's temporary. And honestly, a lot of the time we can't do all this on our own, and it's really valuable to talk to a health professional, like a mental health professional, that can help us to understand, and we can learn some behavioural techniques to manage it better.
Definitely.
We don't have to go alone.
No, this isn't a solo journey.
No way. So others' anger. How about some strategies for managing that? Because often we're dealing with more than just their emotions. We're dealing with our own emotions that are our reaction to what we're witnessing and what we're hearing. And so it, first and foremost, and I guess this comes from working in ED and healthcare, but it's safety first for me. And I always, if someone's having an outburst, I'm looking to see where the exits are. I'm looking to make sure that I'm not in the way, so they can take the bush gate when they've had enough and they want to just get out of Dodge. They can go. And I don't, I don't put myself in a position where I could be, I could be hurt or whatever. So, and it might be just calling for some backup, and that's again part of our protocols in healthcare.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I like that. I like the next one, which is
yes. So, I mean, and depending on the situation, it's probably good to breathe first. Breathe first as you're appraising the situation, and then tune into your gut, because, sometimes we don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction and run away because we're a bit intimidated by what's going on. So it's breathe, slow down, tune into our gut, and just stay curious. Like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to skip to the fifth icon on this slide, which is, it's not your responsibility to stop someone being angry. And I think when we can acknowledge that and let that go, like, okay, they're angry and I don't have to stop it.
No.
And so I'm just going to hold the space for them and listen and find out, like, what's going on for them.
Yeah.
So that,
and I'm not going to add my value to it. I'm not going to add my thought to it. I'm just going to go, wow, you got a lot going on.
And that will help to dissipate that anger. As soon as, it's like all emotions, if you feel like you've been shut down, it just intensifies it and can make the anger worse. So it's that staying curious and trying to understand, listening with open body language and an appropriate eye contact, and really listening and reflecting back what we're hearing them say will really help to validate how they're feeling and help them to simmer down and be present, because you can't reason with someone who is angry. They're not capable of it. So
no.
Don't even try.
Yeah. And it's not their fault. Like I remember sort of dealing with other people's anger. The thing that used to get me through was really understanding the science of what was happening in their body.
Yes.
And understanding that they had so much adrenaline and associated hormone going through their system at the moment. So their ability to have logic and to think their way out of this was not going to happen today. How can I be with them and let that adrenaline flow so that we could get them to just get it out of their system enough so that we could make them feel safe and comfortable, so that those other better hormones that I needed them to access can rise up and, put out the fire.
And assume control again. So that brings me to the end. I just have this little quote.
Awesome.
And I like the image of the volcano that's dormant.
It's just waiting and biding its time.
But it doesn't hurt me unless I interpret it's happening as harmful to me. I can choose not to.
Yes.
So it's Marcus Aurelius, who's one of the last Roman emperors, wrote
and
that.
He's part of the, when you understand Stoicism.
Yes.
Marcus Aurelius is always referenced through there all the time, isn't he?
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting that 2,000 years ago, he and the Stoic philosophers understood that we need to experience discomfort to grow. And and you know, like here we are, this is this age of comfort that we're all seeking to,
And it's
you know, we run
killing
away
us.
from discomfort, and it's, yeah, it is.
Well, thank you, Celeste. That was awesome. And I just generally love the conversation. And I'm hoping
Yeah.
you guys out there did too who've listened to it today. So, once again, if you like what we're talking about and you want to share it and follow us and all of those things, please do. You know, our links will be up for you to be able to do that. But please contact us. So, what's going to happen in the future is because we've Isabel had to, she's moved back to Chile and she has a new job now. And so, she was one of our health friends in our system. But, what we're going to do is we're going to try and invite other health friends in to talk about their topics and what they do as well. So we're going to shake it up and do some more exciting stuff. So listen in. We're going to be there for you every fortnight and let us know what you want because, once again, we can talk about anything. What do you think, Celeste? Anything else you want to add to that?
I think you've summed it up, Sue. That's awesome. No, I'm looking forward to having some other guests on the show. I miss Isabel. So
we have so many beautiful people. We have so many other coaches and healthcare people that we work with all the time. So it'll be beautiful to have them along and have them in our discussions. So I'm looking forward to it all. So have a great week. Be safe. Be kind. It's easy. It costs nothing. All right. And live your best life. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.